The panel is titled Sunny Days Ahead, How Universities Can Power Sustainability Initiatives Beyond Campus to Communities. During the session, I'll start off. I would like to share a little bit more about our work at Clearloop, why we are doing what we're doing, why we believe it's so important to the critical larger climate change issues we have at hand. And then, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Kimani, who's going to speak a bit more to how we partner as a case study with universities to support their climate initiatives and go deeper. And then we have some of our fabulous interns on the panel here too, to also speak to their experience as a student, as an intern, and how that kind of bridges the gap between the two. Before I get started, just a quick reminder too that there is opportunity for Q&A at the end of this panel. So if you do have any questions, I believe, feel free to type them in the chat. And I know our great moderator, Maria, will hop in at the very end and help us get through those questions. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and just do round robin introduction of the panelists before I kick it off for a little bit. So one more time, my name is Emily Fairbank. I'm the Commercial Partnerships Manager at Clearloop, and I work with all of our corporate partners, big and small, ranging from a small author all the way up to Microsoft, Rivian, REI, but also Vanderbilt University to help all of these organizations and institutions support their climate objectives through brand new solar projects. I've been with Clearloop now for 2.5 years, and I actually started my time here when I was in grad school at Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee. So with that, I will pass it off to Kimani to do his introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone. My name is Kimani Poi. I currently work as a Community Partnerships Associate. I originally began at Clearloop in 2021 as a sales intern. Luckily came back last year as a marketing intern and now as a Community Partnerships Associate full-time, where I get to work with social impact initiatives with different commercial partners and local impact partners across our project communities, especially in the Southeast. So really excited to get to know all of you. And as you'll hear on the call, I also graduated from Vanderbilt University, which is a key point in our conversation later on. So really excited to dig into that as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Alexis Woodman. I am a commercial partnerships intern, so I'm working under Emily on the team, supporting some of the other university outreach and other commercial partners. And I am currently a senior at Georgia Tech.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jack Williams. I'm currently a carbon projects inventory intern. So that means I help manage, track, and potentially work to expand our solar projects. I started in January, and I'm also a senior at Vanderbilt. Yeah, so I'm excited to get into all our work with Vanderbilt.
Awesome. All right, thanks everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint in the first part of this just to help illustrate all of the work we're doing. So I'll review of who the four of us are, but who is Clearloop at a higher level? We were founded by Tennesseans who want to make sure that the benefits and access to clean energy are reaching all parts of the country equally. The word equally is really important here because that's a critical driver of our work. And you may think, well, we hear so much about new renewable energies being brought online, new investments. There's so many exciting things. The IRA 2 years ago was pivotal. But so why are we talking about needing to bring access to clean energy across the country equally? Isn't that already happening today? Well, that's where we get into the first of two planetary problems that we're trying to address at Clearloop. So the first planetary problem is that today our economy, our society is still producing too much greenhouse gases. On the left-hand side is a graph which shows and illustrates the sources of our greenhouse gas emissions, where you can see a fourth of those emissions are coming just from the electric grid. So the things that are powering the computers that we're all on, our iPhones, the lights in our room, in our homes, the heating, all of that is coming from the electric grid. And that today is about 25% of our total greenhouse gas emissions as a society. What's powering that electric grid is today primarily fossil fuels. So as we continue to grow our demand in the electric grid, as we electrify more and more things, we're buying electric vehicles, there's going to be more and more demand. Where is that electricity going to come from? And that's why it's really important that we focus on decarbonizing the grid, because if we don't, we're just going to continue to increase our consumption of fossil fuels, where we see there's this very stark difference between renewables today. So the first problem is we need to rapidly decarbonize our economy. The second problem, though, is that emissions are not equally distributed across the map. So on the left-hand side, you see there's a map of the country with different colors that indicate different forms of energy that are powering that local grid. So you have a variety from coal, natural gas, all the way to types of renewables. But what you notice is that when you bring on brand new clean energy in one part of the country, it is not impacting another part. And so that's where this disparity happens, is if we continue to bring on clean energy in parts of the country where it's already proven to be viable, and we know the pathway to bring on that clean energy, it is not supporting the other parts of the country where access is not happening today. And so that's what the illustration on the right-hand side is showing, is that in California, there's a lot of renewable energy that's coming online, and it's great. It's a really, really good thing. And over a third of their energy today is coming from renewables. But you compare that to Mississippi, where almost 90% of their electric grid is being powered by fossil fuels. So this is the type of problem when we say equally and equitably. This is what we're addressing, is that today renewables are not reaching all parts of the country equally. And so that's the second problem we're trying to address, is not only do we need to rapidly decarbonize the economy, we need to do it equitably. And so that's where Clearloop comes in, that we want to create carbon solutions for organizations of all sizes, like universities, to decarbonize the economy and to make sure we're expanding access to clean energy equitably. That way, we're not only accelerating the development of new solar projects within the US, but we're doing it in a way where it can maximize the economic and the environmental benefits that can be achieved as a result of solar. We partner with companies and communities, but I work with companies of all sizes, ranging from a local author who wrote a book about renewable energy, all the way up to big names, Rivian, Microsoft, who's not on this list, but also Vanderbilt University. And that's where we really want to focus the conversation today, is how we can deepen the relationships with our corporate partners who are funding our projects, but also doing so in a way that's supporting their community itself. So Vanderbilt University, their students, their faculty. And so that's what Kimani is going to speak to a little bit more in a minute. But before we do that, just one more final thought on my side is how we choose our sites is really critical to maximizing that environmental and economic impact. The first thing we look at is sun availability. This is pretty obvious, but we want to make sure that we're building projects in parts of the country where we can maximize how much sunshine we can turn into electricity. The second is the carbon intense grids, making sure how much carbon can we prevent, or how can we maximize the carbon prevention by building specifically in carbon intense places in the country. And then the third are the distressed communities. How can we make sure that the benefits that come along with clean energy, which again, Kimani will speak to in a minute, how can we make sure that that's actually going deeper and going beyond and a fundamental part of what we're doing at Clearloop? And so when you look at a lens of all three of these things, it brings us to parts of the country like the Southeast, which is what you see here. So Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kimani to speak a little bit more about how we are supporting communities with our projects.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for that great overview, Emily. So what we love to say at Clearloop is that we want to make solar do more for more. And that goes back to the idea that solar is already dominated in places like California, but not the Southeast. So it's also important to note that what makes Clearloop different from other offset providers is that we embed social impact into the core part of our mission at Clearloop. It's not just an add-on or something that's nice to do if we can. It's something that drives our everyday thinking here at Clearloop. And part of that is tangible economic and social impact in these communities. So that involves an increased tax base, nonprofit donations, and then of course, we want to be long-term community partners over the life of the project. So that includes queer awareness events, site tours, workforce development programming, and other educational programming. So we really want to make sure that we go the extra mile to feel like a core member of the community. And on the next slide, you'll see that the community partnerships team is able to do this work because of the dynamic relationships we've created between our commercial, impact, and community partners. And this is especially important as our commercial partners are usually not located near our project site. So we have the unique opportunity to bring together their corporate responsibility programming to these communities while connecting them with local nonprofits as well. So one example that I'd love to highlight is that one of our commercial partners connected with a local church that was in need of more laptops for their after-school program. And our partner stepped up and they provided 20 laptops for their program. And it just goes to show just the hyper-local impact that these connections can have. And overall, once we build a solar project in a new community, we are seriously committed to staying engaged for the full life of the project, which is nearly 40 years of community engagement. And having this long-term approach is really crucial for having a sustainable growth and lasting impact within every single community we build in. And a core piece of this long-term engagement is building robust educational programming, as it's a common area of interest for Clearloop, our customers, and our project community. So our collaboration with Vanderbilt, for example, serves as a great demonstration for this. In April of 2023, Vanderbilt announced a multi-year partnership with us to address its carbon footprint for the 2021 through 2022 school year. And we helped them achieve this by building a brand new solar farm in Panola County, Mississippi, which is set to come online later this year. And we're excited because it's expected to prevent over 280 million pounds of carbon and generate enough clean energy to power around 1,000 homes annually. And I think it's an exciting development that showcases the tangible impact of our collaboration and is a true testament to Vanderbilt's commitment to sustainability and a proactive approach to carbon neutrality through Clearloop. And we're really proud of how we've gone further to deepen this collaboration beyond just the offset piece. We're designing research projects, providing internship opportunities, and also developing curriculum with professors in real time using real world data. And this is a program that we look forward to expanding to other universities who would like to collaborate with us. So the community partnerships team has been especially focused on intentionally creating educational programs like this so we can provide students with hands-on experience and valuable insights in renewable energy and solar more broadly. And on the next slide, you'll see that we were able to invite members of the Vanderbilt community to a Flip the Switch event, which celebrates a solar project becoming officially operational and generating power. And then you can see that Vanderbilt's Commodore Cup, which is a pitch-style sustainability competition, we supported this by giving students another creative outlet to help Clearloop address business needs and to approach how do we start building a dashboard. And a key part of our collaboration with Vanderbilt that I want to take a second to highlight is our robust internship program. And so we're offering Vanderbilt students the chance to gain practical experience in the field of renewable energy. And it's an excellent opportunity for students to apply their knowledge, learn from industry professionals, because our reach extends not just at Clearloop, but our parent company, Silicon Ranch, and also to other key players in the industry that we come in contact to all the time, and to also contribute meaningful, impactful projects that have a positive impact on the environment. And one product that has resulted from this internship program is actually a live dashboard for Vanderbilt University, which showcases the performance and the impact of our solar project. And I'd like to highlight this tool is not only useful for just monitoring and analysis, but serves as a resource for students to engage with real world data and to understand the dynamics of solar energy production and to see how their university, which in this case is Vanderbilt, is creating tangible and impactful initiatives. And this dashboard was actually created by a current intern named Daniel, who is also a student at Vanderbilt, which just goes to show the incredible potential of our internship program and the already meaningful contributions that our interns can make and have made, and that we actually use them and implement them. But overall, I just want to highlight how our collaboration with Vanderbilt University exemplifies how partnerships between academia and industry drive progress in sustainability and in the clean industry sector. And we're really proud of the work that we've done to create a more sustainable future with them. And for the next part, I would love to just take 15 minutes to have a conversation with two of our current interns, Alexis and Jack, who are actively involved in getting their universities engaged with Clearloop. And I think this will be a great opportunity for everyone to learn firsthand about their experience and the impact that they're making. So I would love to get started by asking both you, Alexis and Jack, how did you get your universities involved and when did you start thinking about that process?
Yeah, I can take this one first. I didn't have a background really in solar, but I just wanted to just make a difference and do something that was really impactful. And so I really just wanted to reach out to Georgia Tech. I knew the different initiatives that they were focused on. They have a new living building and these just really cool renewable energy projects. And so I just really sent an email out to Georgia Tech. I Googled like just who were their like heads of sustainability. So I saw their vice president and I just reached out to her. I knew that the mission of Clearloop really aligned with the goals that Georgia Tech had. And so found the email and I didn't know if me being a student was going to hurt or help my chances there. So I just sent it, didn't have any hopes of a response. And within like a day or two, got a response back, which was really, really just exciting. Just to see that they cared what the students thought and if they saw like a really cool partnership there. So, you know, we had an introductory meeting and it was really awesome. So just really cool that they saw the value of what the students cared about. And some of my other work now focuses on those other outreach with universities and preparing meetings and research for those, which is really cool.
Yeah, what about you, Jack?
Yeah, I would say I kind of hopped into Clearloop at the I guess on the tail end of some of these big collaborations with Vanderbilt. My first introduction to seeing a solar farm at all was through the Vanderbilt One solar farm, which was in collaboration with Clearloop's parent company, Silicon Ranch. So that project went online last spring, or at least the Flip the Switch event was last spring. And so I saw that, and then I come in and there's already so much work being done on the Panola projects that Kamani mentioned. So I kind of saw what all this work could lead to with Vanderbilt. But I would say in my role, I haven't been able to work so much with Vanderbilt, but I do a ton of work in my role, keeping track of all of our projects, potentially doing research and collecting all this information to move into new territories. And I've been doing work with all these teams and learning so much from the siting team, economic development team, interconnection, project development teams, to see where we can go next. And so with that, I think even though I'm sure Vanderbilt and Clearloop will continue to collaborate in the future, but I think with my work, I could potentially see how what I'm doing could lead to opportunities for new universities, and for universities in the future to have an opportunity to get involved, and to continue to offset their carbon emissions and also to expand renewables. So yeah, even though I've kind of just caught a glimpse of what all this great work has led to for Vanderbilt, I think I'm really excited to see the research and the work that I've been doing lead to new projects for other universities and see how they can get involved.
Yeah, and I also wanted to take a step back to think more about, and I know you kind of spoke to this a little bit, but how did you originally become interested in Clearloop? And I know you had exposure, Jack, through the Vanderbilt project in collaboration already. But how did you discover the opportunity and what made you think that you wanted to go into the clean tech space? That is very new for a lot of people that may not have been exposed to it.
Yeah, luckily, I do get to go to Vanderbilt, and that's in Nashville, and Clearloop's in Nashville. So I luckily had the opportunity to see the deep connections between the two. I'm part of a student organization called SPEAR, which is Students Promoting Environmental Awareness and Responsibility. And it's an environmental org at Vandy. And a number of SPEAR members throughout the years have been interns at Clearloop. Actually, Kamani, we used to be on a committee in SPEAR, and honestly, I think you were an intern at the time that we were on the committee together. And so I was just always hearing about Clearloop. And then eventually I started to hear that Vanderbilt was officially collaborating with both Silicon Ranch and then eventually Clearloop. And so I was always hearing about this name, this local Nashville company doing this really precise and kind of trackable offsetting work and solar development work. And so eventually, yeah, I was like, this seems like a great opportunity. I want to work for a company. I had internships in government and in for nonprofits, but I really wanted to see on the company side what that was like. And so yeah, I just kind of went for it and had seen all this success that other SPEAR members and other Vandy students had. And yeah, it's been really great so far. Alexis, you want to take it away?
Yeah, my experience just being from Georgia Tech, there isn't a current, partnership and like internship program, but I actually found the job on LinkedIn and I just saw, Clearloop's name come across and just did research into the company and really just fell in love with the mission, the vision, and the values, and really saw that there could be a partnership with Georgia Tech. My background is very different. I worked in the coffee industry for a while and then in private equity. And from the outside, they don't seem to connect. But what I saw through both of those was how integrated sustainability initiatives are with different industries. So the companies that I were working for, they started to really focus on sustainability and their customers were really wanting it. So like coffee was transitioning into more sustainable practices, and then back into private equity, more investors wanted sustainable investing. So that's what like really sparked my interest. And I wanted just to pursue more like personal and professional growth my last semester. So once I saw Clearloop, like the pieces kind of started to click. And then I had my interview with Emily and was able to talk about like what Georgia Tech is doing and these cool things and just really see like how everything was coming together. And I'm so happy that I found Clearloop.
Yeah, thank you both for that. And I hope what everyone took away from that was that there's so many different backgrounds that can go into a role like Clearloop, and there is no one formula or one experience that will necessarily get you into the clean energy space in general, but we need all types of people, all hands on deck. And you kind of both alluded to this already, but a lot of students who are listening to this might already be engaged in other ways on their campus, and listening to all the work that you're doing, they might be thinking like, oh, what else do I need to do, or what am I not doing? But I would love for you both to highlight how else you're engaged on your campus and how that kind of empowers your work at Clearloop as well.
Yeah, I can start this one. I am kind of all over the place when it comes to school. Working on my own personal things as well. But I've just tried to stay involved with like the student body as a whole and also professors. And so there's a great organization out of the business school that focuses on like sustainability and business. So being able to like see the work that they're doing and also just like make these connections like I did with the sustainability vice president at Tech and see the work that is going on there has been really cool. And Georgia Tech, some of their other like sustainability goals, they have a beehive and we're the yellow jacket. So those things are just really cool that they like are trying to get students involved in, which is really cool. But what about you, Jack?
Yeah, so like I was saying, I'm the president of this environmental org. So we do a ton of work with the administration and students to, in any form, kind of progress environmentalism. We do, kind of very tangible stuff such as like cleanups, locally or at streams. We do career events because, you know, obviously we're all students and eventually we'll graduate. We need to see what's next. So we host career events, and we just kind of try to engage the student body and the administration to like kind of leverage both of their energies and powers into environmental change. But also, I am not, you know, on paper, necessarily the most explicitly environmental. I am majoring in political science. I also do, you know, theater and intramurals. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity as long as I always say that my passion is the environment. And even if my major doesn't really show it, like that's where I'm headed. So, if you're, I would say as long as you are passionate about it and it's something that you feel strongly that you can succeed in, yeah, environmental space is something anyone can go into.
Yeah, and I also definitely agree with that. As long as you have the passion, and the tenacity to learn, because there's always learning in this growing and developing space, you will succeed when you put in the work. And just kind of going off of that, I'm wondering for the internship, you of course both have been learning and growing a lot throughout with really engaging projects, but what's been your kind of favorite component of it so far?
Yeah, I can kick that one off. I would say, so I kind of alluded to this. I was mentioning how the work that in my role that I get to do with so many separate teams at Silicon Ranch and at Clearloop. And so my favorite thing for sure has been the learning opportunities. I feel like in the best way, it's been like having another class, but you get paid for it. And so I've just been absorbing so much information and taking on, and I you know, kind of to sound nerdy a little bit, like I just love to learn. And so it's been great to like learn so much. And day one, it was, you know, hitting the ground running, learning very technical stuff in terms of interconnection or just very broad, like how Clearloop does, you know, processes work with project development. And so I think that has definitely been my favorite part. And at the end of this, we'll be able to, you know, I'll have the chance to, and all the interns will have the chance to show what they've learned. And so I think, yeah, using kind of the internship for me and for a learning opportunity has been my favorite part. Alexis, what do you think about that?
No, that's really cool. And I loved what you said earlier about like, even if your major doesn't necessarily like focus on sustainability, you can just like pour your heart into it in whatever you're doing. Because my favorite part right now of the internship is Clearloop's giving me the opportunity to choose my own project that I'm going to present. Like you said, every intern is presenting. I'm so excited just to learn more about what every intern, every department is doing. It's going to be really cool, just valuable experience. And at Tech, my concentration is finance. So with that being like my background and my specialty, I wanted to show the team like where I see the connection between finance and sustainability. So I'm going to be presenting on where I see that industry leading. There's investors that really want to focus on that sustainable investing, and that is just like a really big part of the industry right now. So I'm excited that they're, you know, giving me that opportunity to, you know, show where I shine. And I think, yeah, it goes to show that sustainability is in every part of every industry. And I'm really seeing that through my research, just where it all coincides.
Yeah, and just before we move into Q&A and hear some of your questions, Alexis and Jack, if you have a final thought or something you want to leave with people before they have additional questions, what would that be?
I would probably say to just like put yourself out there, like I did with my email. Like the worst someone can say is no. And, you know, there's always going to be another opportunity out there, another way to get your foot in the door, another way, you know, to connect and, you know, show off your passions, especially for sustainability. So don't be afraid to take a leap.
Yeah, and I would say going back to, I'll make it quick to going back to what I was saying, just use it at any internship, you know, whether you apply to Clearloop or whatever as a learning opportunity. And because really, you know, obviously do the work that the people ask of you, but don't get caught up in doing it perfectly. Like you're not you're still a student and you're not fully in the industry yet, like take advantage of the moment to just really learn. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I want to highlight that you can learn specifically more about our internship program in the link to the section descriptions, and if you visit us in the expo booth. But what I'm really excited for all of you to think more about, even after today, is how you can connect us with your school sustainability team so that we can have potential collaborations like Vanderbilt, or to at least get the conversation started so that we can really accelerate this decarbonization of the grid, especially across the Southeast where it's most needed. But yeah, thank you so much. We would love to transition into the Q&A phase to really hear some of your questions and thoughts that might have popped up throughout the panel.
Hi all, I'm Maria Pasalo and I'm here to help with Q&A. Thank you, Clearloop. That was very inspiring. I will look into your internships as well. So one of the questions is, what would you suggest to someone who is trying to make their university decarbonize their electricity? We are having had time even trying to divest from fossil fuels, especially when they bring in issues which are hard to argue, like stability of power generation of renewables.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll take that one, and if anyone wants to chime in. So it's a great question about how you can encourage your university to take action. It is difficult when they've already made a choice for, how they're powering a lot of the university or certain other areas of their footprint. What I will say is there's so many different ways that a university can reduce its carbon footprint. And not everyone is a choice that the university can make at that exact time. And so something that we always tell all of our customers, universities or not, is that you just reduce what you can now. And if, divesting from fossil fuels isn't something that's possible, although we would all love that, if it's not possible for the university or the entity for, a handful of years for any number of reasons, you can still work with us to offset that footprint that is still occurring through the use of those fossil fuels. So it's not that we want to prevent, the university or make the university go 100% to renewables, because there's always going to be an inherent footprint that's associated with the university. It's students driving to campus, the heating of its, classrooms. There's so many different layers to it, travel of sports teams. And so even if there's a very small portion the university is interested in, we want to try to help with that. The last thing I would say too is that, to clarify that we are not actually powering the university itself. So there's no concern about stability of, renewables. It's not that, because solar doesn't necessarily provide energy in the evening or at night. It's not that, we're all of a sudden the school that's, Vanderbilt is now in the dark. That's not how it's working with us. We're just supporting a certain amount of solar capacity that is equivalent to the footprint that they are still producing today. So they've reduced what they could, and what they could not reduce is what they're working with us to support. And so that's kind of how we frame it, knowing that every single entity is kind of different and in their own part of their journey. Does anyone else, Kimani, Alexis, Jack, want to add to that, or no?
I would just
say, oh, sorry, Jack, you go.
Okay. I would just say I've been part of a divestment movement before, and on a personal level, I still find it very frustrating that, some universities aren't divesting. But yeah, another aspect to our offsetting kind of program is that anyone who any company or university that participates knows that they're funding directly a solar project. And so I would say, even though kind of the investment that some universities might have in fossil fuels seems kind of like this important and huge negative action that they're taking, if they kind of invest, for example, in a solar development, that is a very tangible and visual and actual way that they're participating in lowering of, and can very much track the lowering and the offsetting of emissions. So yeah, I just kind of embrace that, how the impact of these solar projects they're making.
Yeah, no, and like flowing off of that, I would just say like do the research on, what you think is important and just go and present it, like my experience, like universities want to hear from their students. So if you have you and a group of people that are really passionate about this solution, maybe it's Clearloop, do research on it and go and present it to your sustainability office. Just walk right in the door. And I think that they would be very encouraged by that.
Yeah, and overall, I'll say kind of what everyone I believe is articulating is that divestment, while it's an important strategy, isn't the only avenue. Oftentimes, there's other strategies to achieve different goals, and it's still important to work towards divestment. But this is also something that you can tangibly work with us to do to deliver a real-time impact, especially in communities that need it the most. So thank you for that question.
It's a great question. I also see another one, and Maria, tell me if I'm reading the wrong chat, but I see a follow-up is about, are renewable energy certificates better or worse than offsetting carbon? This is a very, very good question, and I'm super glad it was asked because there is a difference between renewable energy certificates or RECs and carbon credits or carbon offsets, as they're also commonly called. They do not inherently do the same thing. Renewable energy certificates, RECs, are a form of a certificate that is saying that for every megawatt hour of electricity that's consumed, you are producing a megawatt hour of clean electricity. So it's kind of a 1-for-1 there. That only supports the electricity footprint of a university or an entity that's consuming that footprint. Carbon emissions, carbon credits are really to support the remainder of a footprint. So you have footprint coming from, as users with an iPhone. So my iPhone, when I plug that in and I plug into the grid, this is a scope 3 footprint for Apple because I'm one of their customers, and without their product, I wouldn't be producing emissions by charging my phone. That would require a carbon credit or a carbon offset to reclaim that carbon footprint. Another thing is like delivery vehicles of a company, the emissions that are coming out the tailpipe of that delivery vehicle, that's again going to require a carbon credit or carbon offset. So they are similar type of mechanisms to be able to reduce a footprint that's already been produced, but they are addressing different types of footprints. So they are not completely better or worse. What I will say is that in general, they are definitely better, more high quality impact forward RECs, and there are the same type of more impact, high quality additional carbon credits. And that's what we're really trying to do, is say that without the dollars that are coming from our customers like Vanderbilt, we would not be able to build our projects, which would then not be able to have the impact in the environment and in that local economy. And so that's a really critical component. So our customers, if they have a scope 2 footprint, they can reduce it by working with us to get RECs, or they can work with us to receive carbon credits for their scope 1 or scope 3 footprint, depending on, a specific initiative that they're trying to do, like offset the travel of their football team traveling in the fall season. So really it's about what the footprint is you're trying to reclaim, and working with a solution that is guaranteeing that without your dollars today, that project would have never happened. So I hope that answers a little bit. Does anyone else on the panel want to add to that? Okay, I love that question. That's really, really great though. Shows depth of understanding of this world.
The other question that we had is, a lot of environmental and sustainability efforts take a long time to show impact. But so far, if there are any, what were some of the positive impacts you've seen from the partnership with Vanderbilt and the surrounding community?
Yeah, so well, first, thank you for that question, Ryan. I want to highlight that a lot of the areas that we intentionally build in, well, first we build, own, and operate solar projects for the life of the project. So, which is unique. Not many solar companies do that. But in doing that, especially in the areas that we build in that haven't seen investment in a long time, they really get tangible economic and social benefits. So for example, with Vanderbilt in Panola County, Mississippi, that's an area that typically doesn't see that type of exciting investment from new technologies like solar energy. So once we started making those inroads in the community, I mean, not only does it provide increased tax base, but we've made real champions of people who are excited about this technology, and we are bringing career awareness initiatives to the area and really engaging students in the K-12 system. My colleague Karina, who's also on the community partnerships team, is working on an art project that's engaging the K-12 system. So we have a lot of different ways that we are bringing investment and opportunity to this area, and in a way that we're not trying to overstate that it's completely transforming the local economy, but it's at least a flashpoint for some exciting new investment for people to potentially bring more jobs here and other things like that. So that's just one of the few things that I want to highlight.
I noticed Vishal had mentioned, so I was just wondering which one was better environmentally speaking for electricity-based carbon emissions. I think I just want to address that again. What we are trying to do is build brand new solar capacity. So whether that capacity is fueling a REC that we can support a university with, or a carbon offset, in the end, you're still supporting brand new electricity that is going to directly replace a fossil fuel intensive source within that community. And so really it doesn't matter what's better environmentally speaking, because either way you look at it, if it's a REC or it's a credit, you're still funding a brand new solar energy project that is taking fossil fuels offline. So they have the equivalent impact. It's really more about what does the end buyer need to support their climate initiatives. If they want to be climate neutral, do they need to buy RECs for their scope 2? Do they need to buy carbon credits for their scope 1 and 3? So it's more about the angle of the customer itself. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate the discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.